Today's sponsors, Tomball Auto Group and the Christian Business Luncheon Board. So most of you know this, but we meet the second Tuesday of every month here in the Beckendorf Center. Can't hear me? That better? All right. This better? All right. Maybe it's better if you don't hear me. Every once in a while we go to the first Tuesday in March when the college is closed. And we don't charge for meals, but we would appreciate your donations. There are, instead of bowls, we thought we would do coffee filters today. So there's coffee filters on the table that you could put your donations in if you would do that. Okay, our future speakers. We have Kelly Martins next time. I know Kelly is very popular. She's going to have a big following coming to see her. She's great. In June, we have a student panel. We'll have students from Lone Star talk about what it's like to be a Christian student in education today. In August, Gary Kubiak is coming. I just talked to him by text this morning. He just had rotator cuff surgery, but he's recovering well, so he'll be here, and I'm sure that wall will be down again when Gary comes in, because it'll be, it's in August specifically so that the kids could come. It won't be in school. The kids will want to come see him for sure. And then in October, we're going to do a mission spotlight. We'll have a local nonprofit come up and talk about their organization, and we're going to be doing that every October. And then in November, Alexandra Mailer will be here, and we're looking forward to having her here. And then, of course, the Concordia Lutheran Choir will be here in December, as they always are, and that's kind of the highlight of our year. They're amazing. So today, State Rep Tom Oliverson was supposed to be here. He learned at the last minute he couldn't be here today. He had to stay in Austin. And so Mayor Quinn, David Esquivel, have graciously agreed to fill in at the last minute here and give us the state of the city, and we appreciate that very much.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. This one is on. Hopefully that one. Hi, welcome. Thank you. Yes. We are having a fireside chat today. Raise your hands if you know where that came from. Okay, good. So I thought, well, let's get 2 chairs. And they said, no, we don't need to be constrained in chairs. I said, okay. So that's what this is. We are having a fireside chat on the state of the city. We're going to start out. Does everyone have access to our annual report? There's copies everywhere. Do we need more on some of the tables? But that is what we're going to be kind of going over today. And this is the first time that we have actually done a full annual report of all the things that have happened in the last couple years, which in reading it, now I know why I'm so tired. Okay. Why he's so tired, and he has to put up with all of us. But I want to give you a little history of Tomball and tell you about the city, too. I was talking to when they asked about, what is the train? Where'd she go? She's here. Thank you. I said, what does the train have to do with Tomball? I went, oh, don't get me started. So that is our pen. But I also wanted Kent Klingerman. I wanted to acknowledge Kent Klingerman with our county commissioner, and so he has done a great job of representing us. And of course, Grace is back there with Tom Oliverson, who he had to be, something about being on the floor of the Texas Capitol today, and so that's why he canceled. And Tom Oliverson is now a new resident of Tomball. He has moved his office into the city of Tomball as of April 1st. Thank you. We are thrilled. We now have our federal legislator, Wesley Hunt, has his office in Tomball, and then Tom Oliverson as our state legislator. So we're thrilled because we have great partners with them too. They've done a lot. But Tomball, the reason that if you've seen our city pins, we have 3 things. One is oil. Oil started in 1930. We were called Oil Town USA. They came in, said, Tomball Oil said, we would like to lay all your water lines, and if you will give us unlimited drilling rights. So Tomball had free gas and oil for, they said 100 years or 90 years, and it ended in the 1980s. But we all grew up with heated everything. We had free gas because, and we were the only city that had that in Texas. And that's how that happened. So that was the oil well. We were Oil Well USA. And then in 1907, that is Thomas Ball, who was the father of the Port of Houston. And we were called Peck, Texas, is what we were called in 1907. And he said, we are going to put the Port of Houston in. Tomball is one of, well, Peck is one of the higher points of Harris County. And if we put a train there as they're going into the port, they'll have kind of a coast down. So let's put a train stop in Peck, Texas. And that was the beginning of Tomball's growth. And so to honor him, we named the town Tomball. And that's where Tomball came from in 1907. And then the other is cattle. Beckendorf. We had huge cattle and mainly dairy farms in the area. And agriculture was such an important part for a long time until the development started in the last 10 years, seeing a lot of the old farms and dairies and agricultural succumb to, well, good things, good things. But that was also a big part of our community. So that is the three prongs that Tomball started with, were these three. We are a council manager form of government, which means the citizens of this town elect 5 elected officials as city council and a mayor. And we are here to serve the citizens and the businesses that call Tomball home. It is the 14 square miles, almost 14 square miles of Tomball. The school district is close to 83 square miles. So when you say I'm from Tomball, but you live over in Creekside, you're not actually in the city, but we claim you anyhow.
Yes.
Anybody who's Tomball, we claim, yes, you're Tomball. But the council and the mayor are elected of the 14 square miles of the people that live in the city limits. And they elect an employee, they hire an employee. That's it. We hire our general manager, and he actually runs the city. So if you have a problem with your toilets, you call David. He will put.
Say again.
Council does have a good relationship with the citizens and the people who live here, but the only person that we hire is David. David runs the city. So council does not interact with his directors and the people that he has hired to help run the city. So that's what a council manager form of government is. I wanted to kind of give y'all some background on that. This is our annual report. And if you have any questions on the pictures, if there's a picture that you're looking at and you see, what is that? What were y'all doing there? So if you would take a look at this, it's going to be interesting.
So Mayor, let me real quick kind of give you kind of the background or the context of our annual report. And so the whole reason we did the annual report, like the mayor said, we hadn't done a report now for probably over 5 years. I mean, I've been here 10 years total, and we've had an annual report before, but it was very heavily statistics and kind of the data that goes behind it, almost like an audit. This year, we wanted to bring back the annual report and have some of those stats, but also capture what makes us unique, what makes this town so special. Kind of the 3 pillars that we're talking about, the oil part, the agricultural part, and also the farming. I mean, that just tells you that this community was founded on hard work and the industries that really made Houston what it is. And so we wanted to capture what that means. And that's why we added so many pictures in this. You know, a lot of people will say that this annual report is pretty busy when you look at it, but I really like it because we are busy. There is a lot to do, and the things that are happening in our little 13 square miles, that it is important that our residents and business owners know what's going on and be proud about it, because there's, as you thumb through this, and the whole purpose or what we want to convey today is not to go page by page and read this to you, but we want to kind of highlight the different things that are shown in the annual report that are extremely important to us. These are metrics that we measure our operations by to see if we're doing and implementing what the council has told us that they want done, which in turns what the community has basically mandated the council to do. And so we try to do that, and we do that through budget, and we do that through operations. But it's not just city staff. It's not just city council. It's the whole community. And so that's why we try to capture that feel in our annual report.
It is. This first page is page 3. I'm just going to jump around, page 3. When first elected, we sat down and said, what are the main items that are affecting this town? Infrastructure, sewage, water, drainage, gas. That had been kind of kicked down the road 15 years, not really addressing. And this growth, tremendous growth that we have in Tomball and the surrounding areas, we must have proper infrastructure. And so infrastructure is very expensive, as you know. We did have to issue some bonds in order to get the wastewater treatment. Plus, we have good partnerships with the Economic Development Corporation that has assisted in the budgeting on this too. So our main income is sales tax and property taxes. We're very diligent on what we use that with. That comes from our citizens and the people who come here to shop in Tomball. So that is the two main income sources for a city. What do we do with that? And we identified 6 different areas that we wanted to concentrate on, but the number one was actually infrastructure and getting that done. We're now commenced the South Water Treatment Plant. Tomball has flooded for the first time in many years, our Main Street. And so looking at the drainage plan, water supply, Harris County Regional Water Authority, the state has mandated that 70% of the state is on surface water by, 2035? 2035. That is why the reclamation plants were built at the city, at Lake Houston, and they own most of the water rights of the lakes around us. The city of Houston bought them about 50 years ago. So we would have meetings, and I would ask, how do we keep you out of our town? They said, well, you can do this or that, but if there's a lot of growth around you, we have to have 70% of our area on surface water. And that's why we looked at concentrating on the wells and the water and getting ready. Hopefully they won't hook up to our distribution systems, but they just changed their board, so we're starting over. We're starting over with our communication. But that is the state of Texas waters that we are mandated, that we need to look at and prepare for that, because good water is so important, and we always have had good water. The next is maintaining our hometown feel. Tomball's Tomball, and we want to keep our hometown feel. We talked with TxDOT, had meetings with them, and we were able to not put medians down our Main Street. So 2920, you have seen the medians all up and down, but from Four Corners to Willow, they agreed, and this was 3 years ago. 3 years ago, they agreed at that time not to put medians down Main Street. That still is the agreement. TxDOT has changed some of their ownership, their leadership, but they are still agreeing to no medians down our Main Street. So that means that we get to preserve our hometown. We'll have our parades. We will have our horses coming down Main Street. We will have our little leagues to keep Tomball. And so that was very important to keep our culture. The other thing we did last night is that we approved at council Monday night. Councils are Monday, every other Monday, if y'all would like to come, first and third Monday. It's open to the public. We have a workshop at 5 o'clock, council at 6, open forum. You're all welcome to come spend your evenings with us, so come on to City Hall. But we we asked for some assistance to help take the trees. What happened is our trees are going to be taken down when they do the roads, all of the trees in Tomball. So instead of having them on Main Street, not Tomball, on Main Street, yeah. No, not your backyard, no. And instead of putting back 4-inch trees that TxDOT likes to put in, we're growing our own. So we've got the funding, entered into the agreement that hopefully will be signed this year. In order to grow, we're buying 200 trees to grow from the little sizes to 8 to 10 inch, maybe even larger, to put those back. And they are guaranteed by the people who are growing them in the grow farms. And they're gonna plant them, they're special planted where the roots go down, not underneath the streets and sidewalks. So when our road is redone, so will our sidewalks. We'll put our trees back. We will maintain that feel of having a green city and being able to walk all up and down Main Street, not just in Old Town, but from Four Corners to Willow. So we're working on that. Tidy Up Tomball, there's pictures in here. That is our state awarding. They won the Ladybird. Mm-hmm. Right. They were allowed to come into Texas Beautiful because of the wonderful job they did of picking up trash in the city of Tomball twice a year. 500 to 600 volunteers are going to end up at the Baptist Church, and the city helps with like-kind services, and they identify areas, and they pick up the trash. And the next event is Saturday for anybody who would like to be there. And so that was from Tidy Up Tomball. Louis' Playground, he suffers from dwarfism, and there are very few handicapped playgrounds in the city of Tomball. We did Louis' Playground, and now people come from all over to bring their children who have not been able to play on a regular playground to Tomball to play. It's very heartwarming to see that. So we have fabulous parks. We're also look for money everywhere, grants. We're successful in getting some federal and state grants with our wonderful legislatures that we work with. And then we're also in communication. We need to let people know what we're doing. We started a Mayor's Coffee Clutch. It is the second Thursday of every month. It's a free forum at the community center from 8:30 to 10. And come have breakfast, ask any question you want. It's a free forum, an open communication. You're not gavelled down by 3 minutes. Come into City Hall about what you want to talk about during council. So the Mayor's Coffee Clutch, and this is Thursday. It's Thursday, this first one, it's second Thursday. It's Chambers first Friday, City's second Thursday. So put that on your calendar. And then our history. We entered into an agreement with this college. They gave us a room. We have an employee that actually works there for the city of Tomball, training by our great Harris County Library. The first book was just published on the history of Tomball. And what we're trying to do is have a place that you can bring all of your old photos, all of your information of history. They'll scan it in, give it back to you, because the goal is to have a history walk sometime in the future for Tomball and preserve Tomball's history. So it was being lost to great people's attics. And so now we have an intentional way to do that. So those are the 5 things that we've been working on. And now I'm going to turn it over to David.
Thank you, Mayor. And you know what? I've got 6 bosses. The council is 5 council members and the mayor. And you know, just knowing that I've got 6 bosses, it's usually can be a little bit daunting to do that. But I can tell you right now that I've got probably some of the 6 best bosses that you can ever ask for. And I don't say that just because, well, I do say it because she's here. But I say it in reality and in truth, because a lot of the things that we talk about, because this is a council manager form of government where I have 0 authority over that half of how the operations go. But they have all the authority on me. And so if we're going to accomplish what we need to accomplish, we've got to be very open and honest about conversations that we're having. And so we're having those. And we call those, and we commit to each other to, we're going to be very candid about our conversations. And some of them are not easy ones to have. And because as you would expect with 6 different people and their different walks of life, the things that they have in common are they're very strong personalities. They are have strong opinions about how things should be done. But that's the reason why they're in the leadership role. And that is a very good thing. And it's really finding that balance between what they want to accomplish and they get a consensus so they can give me good direction. And so what I want to do, I want to start out with, we're going to go straight to the candidness and the hard topics. Let's go to page 17. And that's going to be the finance department. So a lot of these things that we talk about, parks and sidewalks and water wells and wastewater treatment, that's near and dear to my heart because my formal training is I am a civil engineer, so those projects really get me going. But all of those things cost a lot of money, especially nowadays with inflation. Right after COVID, we saw that construction dollars really shot up, not 20, 30%. In some instances, it was actually 50%. In other areas, much, much higher. I'll give you an example. So the wastewater treatment plant, which is south there on Holderreath, right next to or close to the fire station number 2, that plant is scheduled because of all the flows and the growth that we've got is needing to be expanded. So basically double the size of that wastewater treatment plant. When I first got here as the Public Works Director, that price tag was about $15 million to get done. I wanted to see, somebody just take a guess. Today's dollars, how much is that expansion? 10 years ago was $15 million is what I was planning for. 45 is a good guess. Keep going up. You're close. It's right at 75 to 80,000 or $80 million to do the same expansion. So then you can see the rock in the hard place when I go to my council and said, wait a minute, you told me just a few years ago that this was $15 million. What do you mean it's now going to cost $70 million? Maybe a little bit higher, depending on how fast we can get this done. And I say, well, that's just the way the economy is going right now. And by the way, I got more bad news. Because with all of our growth, our water demands are going up too. And so we have, our only water supply that we have is we have groundwater wells. We got 5 groundwater wells that supply the water to the city. And so if you think back probably about 2 years ago when we had a little dry spell, we entered into drought contingency plans and had to ask for voluntary curtailment. And then we were getting close to going to mandatory, and I think we stayed in mandatory for the most of the period, and then we were able to back off. But what you don't know is that we were close to actually having to take that one step further, because the plan is enacted by our pumpage usage. So we've got a total capacity of all those 5 wells, what they can totally ultimately supply. We were hitting and bumping up 80% of that. So 80% of our total ability to pump into the city was already being used by consumption during that dry spell. Well, just think if you have an electrical problem, mechanical problem, and one of those wells go down, I'm already busting 100% of that capacity because I just lost a well. What that means to the distribution system is you could have situations where your pressure will drop because you're sucking it out much quicker than you can replace it in the tanks. And then you could get to a health hazard where you have actually a vacuum in the pressurized system. All of those are just, that's what keeps me up at night, is those type of things happening. So then it goes back to, I have to go to council and say, I need to spend money. And so that's where we go into the finance department and say, we're trying to manage this situation. So I know I'd say a lot of this, and it seems very dramatic and kind of like a huge concern, while it is a concern, it's things, just know that this council took action. We've issued the debt to be able to start these projects. We're well on our way to adding water supply. We are in the bidding phase for the wastewater treatment plant. So those plans are moving forward as fast as we could possibly do. And so we're tracking along really well with our growth pattern and the needs. So we're not ahead of growth, spending money that we don't need it yet, but yet we're not behind the growth. Like you will read in some of the newspapers and some of the news about some communities that really get in that situation, either one of those, and it's really not good for anybody, for the taxpayers and us having to maintain it and operate it. So, trying to set up the plan to how do we attack this problem. And so we set up a rolling CIP program. And what that means, CIP stands for Capital Improvement Projects. And so those are the large projects that have those big ticket dollar amounts to it. Obviously, we can't pay it all up front, but these projects take time also to get implemented. So we'll have 1 year that we'll spend maybe $2 or $3 million of that $70 million price tag in year one, and then it starts ramping up as construction goes. So I don't need all of the $7 million on that year one. I can just borrow that amount up front in year one, which means we can just affect the tax rate and mitigate that increase. And so over time, we can effectively keep the tax rate relatively flat and anticipating additional growth, so our tax base will grow, then we can spread that over with more taxpayers. So the impact on everybody is much lower. And you can see that on page 17, and you can see the chart there. That one about the tax rate, where we rank amongst all of the other surrounding communities. We are second to the lowest tax rate of the ones that we show here. That is absolutely great. We're absolutely proud of that. The council has actually mandated that I stay in that area because the capacity for any of us, especially as you see kind of the economy, how it's going and things, there is no capacity amongst any of us to be able to pay, even though we can justify it every single day and show you the data that it's absolutely needed. But we got to be realistic too. And so this is where we're at. We're in a very good position. We still have a very, very low tax rate. We're still doing the projects that are needed because of our growth. And so if you hear out there about why are we allowing this additional growth? We're having to issue more debt. We're having to raise taxes. Because we did. Last year, we did raise taxes for this budget year. We're talking about raising the tax rate 1/100 of a penny. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to mitigate these increases. And Clint's laughing because he's like, yeah, we do that too in the county. So that is our focus, is to make sure that our tax rate is manageable and that we do not go into the capacity that anybody can do. But at the same time, I still have to have that candid conversation with my council about the projects that we got to get done. So where does this money where do we get this from to be able to pay this tax rate? So this tax rate is on the general fund side. And so you see it up here. You've got two different tables. The top one is the general fund, and then the bottom one is the enterprise fund. I'll tell you the differences on that, and you can read that up there. The general fund is where a lot of our sales tax, all of our ad valorem or the property tax, permit fees, any of those type of things that are collected go to pay for those operations, which is police, fire, some of public works, all of the other general governmental stuff that we do comes out of the general fund. So that's our biggest fund that we've got. The enterprise fund is funded by utility rates, not by taxes. So the funds that we get from our water sales, so your water bill, we charge for sewer, and we charge for gas. So we took over, we actually have the gas distribution, city provides that within the city limits. So those funds go to operate the utilities. So all of the maintenance and operations that go to take care of all of our utilities is not paid by taxes. You know, a lot of things you'll hear is like, well, wait a minute, I'm paying all these taxes and it's really I don't have a new water line in my neighborhood. Well, It's not coming from your taxes. It comes from the utility rates. In this case, because we're trying to be thoughtful about how we approach the problem because the numbers get big, the wastewater treatment plant technically should be paid only by our utility rates. If you can imagine, if I put that huge price tag of $70 million for the treatment plant, I'm adding new water wells at $30 million. I didn't even say that number. $30 million to add the new wells that we're doing. We have a lift station that needs to be, it's at capacity, and so we're doing that. That's $15 million. So all in total, our projects are hitting over $100 million. If I put that all on the utilities, can you imagine what your water bill would look like, or in your sewer bill? So what we've done is we've kind of merged both. So the tax rate right now is helping the utility fund by paying for some of this debt up front for these projects. As the utility grows, and that's one of the things that I can constantly look at. And so I'll give you an example. So you know where the new Macy's distribution is at. And they're building a Gringos and they're building a shopping center all in the south part of town. That shopping center, what that's going to do for us as far as the utility side of the house or the enterprise fund is they're going to be pad sites of, I think, 7 to 9 different restaurants. They're all going to be serviced by gas. We're the gas provider. And so that, in a sense, may, by our projections, double our total gas consumption by adding just that shopping center. So the revenues for the enterprise fund are projecting to be really, really good. And so the idea here is to shift. Once the utility fund can then absorb more of that cost of doing these projects off of the general fund, which means I won't have that tax rate impact. So it's all trying to work together as we move forward. So I wanted to point those things out, and you'll see it there on the expenditure side of that page, and you'll see there that it has the capital program, water and sewer. Well, you know why those are the biggest ones. So those is for the water supply, and that one is higher than the sewer, not because the total price tag is higher, it's because for 2024, that year's cost was higher than the other one. But as we go forward, sewer's gonna outpace water. Any questions on any of that? Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Mayor, you and I had talked about making Tomball a walkable city, and we talked about the history of walking. So, just, I do listen to you. So, my question is, has there been some study or mapping of our sidewalks? We do have some sidewalks to nowhere. We'll have a nice run of sidewalks, and then nothing. So, has there been some mapping to look at how maybe those could be efficiently joined up, especially like maybe Pine Street or going from the museum? Very good. Okay. So museum to Main Street. So that's one question. And two, also, I know you talked about parks on the south side. Can you illuminate that a little bit for us?
Yes. Actually, yes, comprehensive plan.
Please use your microphone.
Yes, yes, we talked about actually the plan for sidewalks. The sidewalks to nowhere, yes, whenever a new development comes in, they're required by an ordinance to put in the sidewalks. Now, yes, it's just on their property. We can't come and say, well, now you need to put the sidewalks on the rest of the time. That's city's work. And also the people who have been here a while, we can't mandate those businesses to put in sidewalks. New businesses, your building, yes, beautiful sidewalks. Yes, they're mandated to put in sidewalks as part of their construction. They will eventually connect. We're getting ready to start on the Baker Drive sidewalks. That was been in 3 years in the making, but now we're getting ready to build the sidewalks down Baker Drive. The purpose of this is what the citizens said when we had our town hall meetings, and we have several town hall meetings, that please, we listen, council listens, they're there, we're listening to the people, that's what they want. The sidewalks are an important part of our future to connect this town by walkability. We actually talked about bike packs, but we don't really have the room on our roads to put in a bicycle path. Those are, I think it's 8 feet, is how wide it has to be, and we don't have that. The other part of the sidewalks is, we don't have the roads sometimes are not wide enough, so we have to put underground water pipes in the ditches, cover them up to put the sidewalks on. That's the problem on Zion. So those are all in the plans. They're all, we've identified areas that we need to have the sidewalks completed in order to keep our children safe, which we hope to do that on by the parks to make sure that we have that, connecting the schools. So in our comprehensive plan update that we just talked about, there's actually a little map that we can get to you that where we want to put the sidewalks and what the cost is. But the businesses that come in and build, yes, they don't like putting in sidewalks, they fight us. Too bad. This is what our citizens said, we need to connect this. And if you want to come here and build something and be part of this community, then you also need to be part of this, what the citizens have said they want. So we're doing that. What was your next other question? Oh, the parks. Yes, Commissioner Ramsey. Yay. We have Sam Matthews Park, which is Commissioner Ramsey's park. Right next to it is Broussard Park. And at the Commissioner's Court just approved the architectural fees to plan and design a new community center for Tomball. That will be at Sam Matthews Park, and it will connect to Broussard. So it is it's an agreement between the two parks to build a new community center there and to expand our parks. Because the demographics have changed of Tomball. That's one of the things that are in here. What do you think is the average age? Now, if you've read it, it's in here. Okay. The average age of a citizen of Tomball is 38 years old. 38. How many new families? 2,000 new families have moved in 5 years. They're coming for a great school district. They're coming for a quality of life. When we had our community meetings to what do y'all see for the future, there were online surveys. They were coming to the community center, putting the dots on the board. What is important to the people who live and work in Tomball? It was no longer bring us jobs. It was no longer we need more business. It was quality of life issues. Walking, green, places to go and sit, restaurants and entertainment. It was quality of life issues. So council heard that, and that is what we have been changing a lot of our future to, is that this is what they want. Everybody will drive 15 minutes away to go do something, but it's no longer bring us, well, our business park has been a great success in promoting jobs, but that wasn't the number one. The top three were green space, trees, walkability, pathways to get to places that have quality of life issues. And so this is what we looked at. This is the demographics of our town. Medium age 38. I was surprised at that, especially since I'm a lot older than that. But, so, yes. Yes.
Question, the employment rate at 54%, is that a concern, or is there a reason why that seems fairly low to the national average?
I'm glad you pointed out, because I questioned that too, when I saw that, and and I think it depends on the community, and because of ours being the demographic is changing from more of the mature, retired community to now more younger, I think you're going to see that statistic go up, because that 54% of the total population. Correct. And I think that's the difference, and that's why it kind of skews that number.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it seems really, really.
Right. We have a lot of families that may not have two earners in the family, and that's good. That's good. And so, that's why it went down. from the national average that, yes.
Yes, right.
Right.
So it seems like we're getting close to total time, and I want to make sure that I answer any questions. As you saw that, I know I'd probably spent too much time on the finances, but that's what is really important, that drives a lot of the stuff that we do, is understanding where that is. Just like the mayor's talking about sidewalks, trails, more parks, that's a big cost. And so that's something that we always weigh. But is there anything that you have questions about, concerns about, or just curious about? You know, one of the, yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Once you get the water and your utilities up to par, what are the plans for expanding Tomball, the actual city limits?
That's a great question. And so annexation is way the city can do that. The legislature has put a lot of restrictions. The city can't just go out and annex property. But what Tomball is, it attracts young families because of the school district and things like that. There's this pressure to come to this area. Well, that same pressure is on developers. So developers trying to feed that demand want to come up here. They want to be in the city limits because then we can give them the services that they need. Utilities, water, sewer, drainage, a lot of those things that we provide. It's too much of a cost for them to just try to do it on their own. There is an option. They can create a MUD and they're their own taxing entity, but we find that they much would prefer to just come into the city and then we provide those. They have to pay for their things, but then they turn it over to us for maintenance. That is the way we grow, and we're always entertaining a lot of folks that come and ask questions. Part of the community development group here is they do a lot of review or preliminary meetings with developers to see what are the requirements, what are their needs, and then we look at our capacity to be able to serve them. And so that is happening almost on a daily basis.
And we have boards and commissions that are citizen-run. So please, if anyone wants to get involved in anything, go to the website under boards and commissions, and there are many different ways that you can serve. The collective knowledge of this group would be very helpful. So don't forget to get involved in things like that too. We have a lot of opportunities. We also have a lot of events that are coming up, but one I wanted to point out besides Tidy Up Tomball, which is on Saturday, for anyone who'd like. It's a great thing for kids to come and they don't have to go down in the ditches next to the big roads, but it helps for serving, is that we are having the recycling from 10 to 2 here at Lone Star, that we have city trucks and a lot of other different organizations they put together to do spring cleanup week at opening our landfill from April 21st to 26th. So that old refrigerator you figured out how to get rid of, or cleaning out your garage or any of the things, go to our website and you will see a list of the materials that you can bring. But the city sponsors this, and then the landfill will also be open on Neal Street to bring things that they'll unload. And the other is recycling here at Lone Star College. So that's April 21st through basically the 26th. The list is on the website of what this cleanup is. Also, if you get a water bill, it's in there. We've used our water bills as communication methods to put newsletters and information into. And the other is Tomball Prays Together. God has blessed Tomball, and he really has. And, okay, y'all, church and state, I know I'm supposed to separate, but I don't. But God has blessed Tomball, and we're having our Tomball Prays Together event May 3rd at the depot, where people just show up at the depot. We'll have music, we'll have different ministers, and basically we pray together for the church, the state, our country, this town, and people. So I encourage you to come to that May 3rd at the depot. And so, did you have a question, Larry?
But I do have a statement. I want to applaud you guys for what you guys do in Tomball itself. And I mean, we all know that infrastructure is a major deal for any town or city that's growing. And then you guys have handled it, I mean, superbly, and I applaud you for that. You know, we look at the neighboring cities and towns around us, and I happen to know that they have some real serious problems when it comes to water and those sort of things. And you guys all hear over the news how in Houston, they get these water bills for $2,000, $3,000. They don't have any control over that at all in Houston, the city of Houston, and we have to maintain that here in Tomball. And also being able to keep the Tomball small. That's what drove me here, and my family and grandkids. And I think it's wonderful that you guys are keeping that in mind, keeping that the focus of what Tomball is, keeping Tomball. And I really, really do applaud you for that. We know it takes a village, and we are very blessed to be in and around Tomball with Dr. Oliver, you know, Tom Ramsey, you know, Wesley Hunt, all these people here that manage the government around Tomball. It truly is a God-blessed area. And I hope everybody here can appreciate that. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Our email's open, our telephone's open. If you want to reach out to us about any question, please do, tomballtx.gov. And also, I put some things about our community center on the table. Unbelievable events that are things going on at our community center. You can be active 24/7 if you wanted to. But thank you very much for allowing us to speak today, and God bless you.
Thank you.